I don't know from where we got this understanding that God says do not judge and all that. But I think it's a very big misunderstanding of the text, because if you look at the text, what Christ is saying is that he in fact is asking us to judge fairly. What he is saying is that remove the log from your eye, then you will be able to see the speck in your brother's eye very clearly. And so in fact Christ's point is, it's not about do not judge at all, but what he's saying is that do not be hypocritical. That you having a big log in your eye, all you want to be is judgmental. I think judgmental is the problem.
Exactly. So there's a lot of thing about the words actually. So we get confused with, it's judge, therefore judgmental. No, that's not how it works. But then people get confused with that, and that it's not that we don't know the meaning of the word, but in your subconscious way you do that eventually. So not being judgmental is good, but God is actually not asking you not to judge it. He's actually telling that you first check yourself and then do it, like you said, right?
I think defining things makes it easier. So, I mean, what do you mean by judge? So, judge, what I feel is, the word judge means evaluating someone's actions based on a standard. That's what judge is, to evaluate action based on a particular standard. And it's a good thing. See, we make judgment calls all day. We from the time we woke up, we made all the right judgment calls. When we are driving, we use right judgment way to take the turn. If you have, when you have to talk to someone, you make right judgment of the use of words. So judging itself is not a bad thing. Like if we go by the definition of evaluating an action based on a good standard, right? So, but what is happening is that people do not expect to be evaluated against a standard. And when you don't expect anyone to correct you so that you move forward in a godly life, then you are really misunderstanding God's love. That you're coming as you are, but you also want to stay as you are. You don't want correction. You don't want anyone to judge you in the sense of correcting you and moving you forward. And I think that's where the problem is.
Yeah. So I think your example is fine, but then I was thinking, right, when you talk about making judgments throughout the day, you're not making judgments about somebody, right? So when the moment you are talking about somebody, people think that you're sitting on the seat of or throne of God, but that is not how it is, right? So it is not really judgmenting. You're not punishing, or you're not telling that, oh, you go to hell. Right, you're not telling that, but what you actually are doing is you're trying to correct that person as per the higher standard, right, for the betterment of that person. Right. So yeah.
I think that brings us to the critical point in the discussion. That is, what are your motives in correcting a person? I think that's where it comes down to. Is your motive to pull him down and say that, hey, you are bad? Then I think it is judgmental in that sense, and you are not really seeking the good of the person. When you look at Paul, the other day my friend was talking about this. She was talking about how when Paul is writing in his letters, in a lot of places, sometimes he comes hard on people, but it sounds judgmental in a sense, but then he is doing it for their good. In fact, in many times he says, have nothing to do so and so people, such and such people who are creating divisions, or who are living such an immoral life, ungodly life, or some people who do not work and being a burden to us. A lot of examples where Paul comes down hard on people, but always his intention is so that his soul may be saved. Paul adds. So his intention is not that he wants to he's seeking the destruction of the person, but all the evaluation of his actions against the standard, if you want to call that judge, that he's doing is for the betterment of the person, is so that he might be saved. So I think when we are correcting people, I think our motives must be clear. And with what attitude are we doing it? For the betterment of the person, to really help the person, and those things can only happen in relationship. Absolutely. So I think without relationships, when you correct, and it doesn't work that way. So I think you need to build relationships and make the other person know that you really care for them and that you really love them. And that is when correction, I think, is taken in a positive way. But when you don't have that relationship, it is seen as you're coming from a seat of judgment.